It's late 2024, and the electric car revolution seems to be running out of charge. General Motors, one of the biggest champions of an all-electric future, just hit the brakes on its ambitious EV plans. This isn't just a tweak or minor delay. It's a major shift that could change the trajectory of the entire automotive industry. GM once promised a full transition to electric vehicles by 2035, but now they're pulling back hard. Could this be the beginning of the end for the electric dream? And what does it mean for consumers and the future of transportation? Keep watching, there's a lot to unpack here. A few years ago, GM was all in on EVs. They were throwing billions at new electric factories, rolling out models like the Hummer EV and the Cadillac Lyriq, and promising consumers a world where gas guzzlers would be relics of the past. They even announced that the Buick brand would become fully electric by 2030, leading the charge toward a cleaner future. But now, GM is taking its foot off the accelerator and slowing everything down, big time. Let's start with the facts. GM was planning to reach a production capacity of 1 million electric vehicles annually by 2025. They were also on track to launch new EV truck plants and bring electric models to every major segment. But today, those plans are looking more like wishful thinking. The company recently announced it's delaying the launch of its second US electric truck plant by 6 months, meaning it won't be ready until mid-2026. And Buick's much-anticipated first EV? That's being quietly delayed too, with no new release date in sight. But the real bombshell? GM is no longer going all in on electric vehicles. They've announced a pivot back to hybrids. Plug-in hybrids, to be exact. Yes, hybrids are making a comeback, even though the company previously said it would focus solely on fully electric vehicles. This shift is massive because it signals that GM isn't as confident in the EV market as it once was. And they're not alone. Many automakers are starting to hedge their bets, realizing that the road to an all-electric future might be a lot longer than expected. So why is GM slowing down? The short answer? Demand for EVs isn't growing as quickly as everyone thought. Sure, electric car sales have been increasing. GM sold over 21,000 EVs in the second quarter alone, a 40% jump from last year. But that growth isn't enough to justify the massive investments automakers are pouring into EV production. In fact, despite all the hype, electric vehicles still only make up about 3.2% of GM's total sales. And let's be real, electric vehicles are still expensive to make. GM CFO Paul Jacobson admitted that while they are on track to hit profitability at a production rate of 200,000 EVs annually, the cars are still a financial burden. Even though the long-term ownership costs of EVs are lower, the high manufacturing costs are making it tough for GM to turn a profit on each vehicle sold. And that's before we even get to the challenges of scaling up battery production and building charging infrastructure across the country. Here's the kicker. GM isn't just scaling back. They're preparing for a future where hybrids play a key role. CEO Mary Barra explained that while the company is still committed to eliminating tailpipe emissions by 2035, they need to be practical. That means bringing back hybrids as a bridge solution to keep the company profitable while the infrastructure for electric vehicles catches up. In other words, they're not giving up on electric cars, they're just not betting the farm on them anymore. This shift raises some serious questions about the future of electric vehicles. Just a few years ago, it seemed like the entire industry was on the verge of a massive transformation. Automakers were racing to outdo each other with new electric models. Governments were rolling out EV incentives, and investors were pouring money into battery startups. But now, the momentum is starting to slow. One of the biggest challenges facing the industry is infrastructure, or the lack of it. Charging stations are still few and far between in many parts of the country, making it difficult for consumers to rely solely on electric vehicles. Until people are as comfortable charging their cars as they are filling up their gas tanks, EV adoption will continue to lag. And while federal tax credits help, they're not a sustainable solution. GM knows that depending on government incentives isn't a viable long-term strategy, which is one reason they're bringing hybrids back into the mix. Then there's the issue of competition. Tesla, Ford, Rivian, and other automakers are all vying for the same piece of the EV pie. GM knows that if they overproduce EVs and can't sell them fast enough, they'll end up with bloated inventories and have to resort to heavy discounting just to move units. That's a scenario they're desperate to avoid, especially in a market that's still trying to find its footing. But let's not overlook the silver lining here. GM's pivot to hybrids could actually be a smart move. For one thing, hybrids offer a more affordable entry point for consumers who aren't quite ready to go fully electric. They combine the benefits of electric driving with the convenience of a gas engine, making them an attractive option for people worried about range anxiety or charging infrastructure. And from GM's perspective, hybrids are a safer bet. If the EV market takes off in the next few years, great. They can scale up their electric production. If not, they'll still have a profitable lineup of hybrids and traditional gas-powered vehicles to fall back on. This strategy also gives GM some breathing room to perfect their electric technology. Rushing to meet aggressive production targets can lead to costly mistakes. Just ask anyone who remembers the Chevy Bolt battery fire recalls. By slowing down, GM can focus on getting the technology right and avoiding potential disasters. So, is this the end of the electric car revolution? Not quite, but it's definitely a reality check. The industry is realizing that the transition to electric vehicles won't happen overnight. It's going to take time, investment, and a lot of patience to build the infrastructure and consumer trust needed to make EVs the new normal. And until then, hybrids and gas-powered cars will continue to play a significant role in the automotive landscape. For car buyers, GM's decision means more options in the short term. If you're not ready to make the leap to an all-electric vehicle, hybrids could be the perfect middle ground. And for those who are already on board with EVs, don't worry, GM isn't abandoning the electric dream. They're just hitting pause to make sure they get it right. What's next for GM and the EV market? That's the billion-dollar question. Will hybrids become the new normal, or will the electric revolution pick up steam again? Only time will tell. One thing is for sure, though. This isn't the last time we'll hear about GM's shifting strategies. The company is playing the long game, and the outcome will shape the future of transportation for years to come. In fact, we might start seeing automakers shift toward a multi-path approach, offering everything from hybrids and EVs to hydrogen-powered vehicles. The key will be adaptability. If battery technology evolves rapidly or government regulations tighten, GM could pivot back to an all-electric focus sooner than expected. But if gas prices stay low and charging infrastructure lags behind, hybrids might dominate for longer than anyone anticipated. GM is essentially betting on flexibility, positioning itself to move in whatever direction the market demands. Whether that means doubling down on EVs or finding innovative ways to keep internal combustion engines relevant just a little longer. And that's a wrap. What do you think about GM's decision to scale back on EVs? Are hybrids the smart move, or is this a step backward? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the conversation started. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.